Let's start with something honest. Social media didn't make people bad with money. It didn't suddenly make people irresponsible, and it didn't create greed out of nowhere. What it did do is quietly change how people see money, measure success, and make financial decisions, often without realizing it. Most people don't feel poorer because they're earning less. They feel poorer because they're constantly comparing, consuming, and reacting. And social media is the environment where that happens every single day. This isn't about blaming platforms or telling people to delete apps. It's about understanding how social media subtly reshapes financial behavior and why that leads many people to struggle more, even when their income hasn't changed. At Money Science AR, we talk about money systems, not personal failure. And social media is now one of the most powerful money systems influencing everyday life. The first way social media makes people poorer is by changing what normal looks like. Before social media, you mostly compared yourself to people you actually knew. Coworkers, neighbors, friends, family. Now you're comparing yourself to curated highlight reels, influencers with sponsorships, people funded by debt or family money, algorithms designed to show extremes. What you see is not reality, but your brain reacts to it as if it is. Luxury becomes normal, travel becomes expected, upgrades feel necessary, and suddenly, a perfectly stable life feels inadequate. This constant exposure shifts spending behavior quietly. People don't say, "I want to keep up." They say, "This feels reasonable now." That's how financial pressure begins, not with desire, but with normalization. Another major shift is how social media shortens financial time horizons. Money used to be about long-term thinking, saving slowly, building gradually, waiting patiently. Social media rewards speed, fast success, quick wins, instant upgrades. This changes expectations. People start feeling behind not because they are, but because progress looks instant online. The patience required for real wealth feels outdated in a feed built on immediacy, and impatience is expensive. Impatience leads to buying before saving, financing lifestyle upgrades, taking risks without understanding them. Social media doesn't tell you to do this directly. It just makes waiting feel uncomfortable. Another way social media quietly drains wealth is through emotional spending. Scrolling is not neutral. It creates comparison, envy, anxiety, aspiration. And emotions influence spending far more than logic. After exposure to idealized lives, people don't think, "I'll plan better." They think, "I deserve something." That feeling isn't wrong. It's human. But when emotional relief comes from spending, money stops being a tool and becomes a coping mechanism. Small purchases add up. Impulse spending increases. Subscriptions multiply. Not because people are careless, but because emotional triggers are constant. Social media also blurs the line between advertising and everyday life. In the past, ads were obvious. Now, ads look like advice, like inspiration, like lifestyle content. People trust faces, not disclaimers. When spending is framed as self-care, investment in yourself, or everyone's doing it, resistance lowers. This doesn't mean people are foolish. It means persuasion has become more sophisticated. Another important factor is how social media redefines success. Success used to be private, stability, security, peace of mind. Now success is public and visual. Cars, homes, vacations, experiences. What doesn't show up on screen? Debt, stress, family support, long-term risk. People measure their financial health against appearances, not fundamentals. This leads to a dangerous mismatch. Someone can look successful and be financially fragile. Someone can be financially stable and feel unsuccessful. Social media rewards appearance, not resilience. That shift makes people feel poorer even when they're doing fine. Another subtle impact is how social media changes risk perception. You constantly see stories of overnight success, massive gains, extreme outcomes. This skews expectations. Slow, steady progress feels boring. Responsible decisions feel small. Risk feels normal. But what you don't see are the thousands of quiet failures behind the few visible winners. This creates a distorted sense of probability. People take financial risks not because they're reckless, but because social media compresses reality. It shows outcomes without context, and missing context leads to poor decisions. Social media also increases financial noise. There's always a new trend, a new opportunity, a new must-do. This creates decision fatigue. When people are overwhelmed, they either do nothing or make impulsive choices. Neither builds wealth, clarity builds wealth, noise destroys it. Another overlooked effect is how social media encourages lifestyle inflation. As income grows, spending grows faster. Not because needs increase, but because standards do. What once felt like a luxury becomes baseline. Phones, subscriptions, experiences. There's nothing wrong with enjoying life. The problem is when enjoyment becomes automatic and unconscious. Wealth grows when spending is intentional. It shrinks when spending is reactive. Social media trains reactivity. There's also the issue of identity. People increasingly build identity through consumption. What you buy becomes part of who you are online. This makes spending harder to control because it feels personal. Cutting back feels like losing status, not just money. That's a heavy emotional cost, and it keeps people locked into spending patterns that don't serve them. Now let's be clear, social media is not evil. It can educate, it can connect, it can inspire. But like any powerful system, it shapes behavior. And when people don't understand how they're being influenced, they lose control slowly. The result isn't dramatic poverty. It's financial fragility, low savings, high stress, little margin. That's what poorer really means in modern life. Not starving, but constantly worried. So what's the solution? It's not quitting social media. It's changing how you relate to it. The first step is awareness. Understanding that what you see is curated, sponsored, and optimized for attention, not truth. The second step is separating values from visuals. Ask, what actually matters to my life? What brings real security? What costs peace of mind? The third step is slowing financial decisions. Social media thrives on speed. Wealth thrives on pause. Waiting reduces mistakes. Thinking reduces regret. Another powerful shift is redefining success privately. Success doesn't need witnesses. Stability, options, flexibility, calm. Those don't trend, but they matter. Money works best when it supports your life quietly, not when it performs publicly. Social media didn't make people poorer by force. It made them poorer by influence. And influence only works when it's invisible. Once you see it, you regain control. That's the core message here. Money Science AR exists to make invisible systems visible, not to shame, not to judge, not to scare, just to help people think clearly in a noisy world. If this video made you reflect on how social media affects your money, not emotionally, but structurally, then it did its job. Because wealth isn't just about income, it's about attention, behavior, and awareness. And in a world competing for your attention, awareness is one of the most valuable financial assets you have.